Here's the list, or the short list of people Teresa Espinosa has worked with. Britney, Ariana, Janet, Miley, and so much more. Come join us.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Hey everyone, welcome on into The Pointe with Kristyn Burtt, presented by Dance Network and Popcorn Talk. And this is kind of like the best way to open, of course. Debbie Reynolds, Singing in the Rain, good morning, puts you in such a good mood.
I know.
And such a wonderful tie to what you're working on too.
Yes. It's a great honor to just be a part of her legacy and help continue it on.
And by the way, guys, this is Teresa Espinosa.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. I'm so excited you are here. And I have to, I didn't tell you this story beforehand, but I want to let everyone know. You and I worked together on a panel in June.
Yes.
And this in my head was really, because we had met before last year, but in my head, I have this great memory of you, and I don't think you know this. So we worked on this crazy panel, and it really was crazy because it was heated in a good way. It was a great debate. It was about commercial dance and concert dance and how the two can sort of build a bridge and make a stronger dance industry overall. But people in the audience had a lot to say on the panel. It was a 90-minute panel, which normally is a long time.
It felt really short.
Really short. We could have probably gone on for 2.5 hours. I'm not kidding you guys. But the last person I had to stop from talking was Teresa. And she was like, I mean, she was so fired up in the most passionate way. And I was like, Teresa, I'm so sorry. I have to stop. And I was like, God, I love her so much, because that was going on in my head, because I'm like, you were so in the moment and so passionate about what you were talking about. And I think everybody in the room was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's a disconnect with concert dance and the commercial world. And, the same rules apply, to commercial dance as to, the concert world. And I think there's some people that have found how to bridge the gap a little bit and figure that out for themselves. But that debate was pretty, heated, because it's like we're always, speaking for our limitations, instead of, well, if it works over here, maybe you don't have to do all of it, but maybe some of it works.
A little piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I find sometimes on the concert dance side that the use of social media, which has worked very successfully, sometimes too successfully in the commercial world, because we're also talking about that. But even pulling some, even just authentic ideas of what works for your concert dance company and using that for publicity, I think they need to utilize those tools a little bit more.
Yeah, even for myself as, one of the new business owners of Debbie Reynolds, we struggle with that. That's a huge struggle, because, we're part of the dance community as a dance studio. You cannot fight the fact that social media is the way to promote your business. And at the same time, though, because we've been in the dark ages for so many years and just kind of doing the bare minimum of just posting on Instagram, we're still kind of just doing that. But, intentionally, it's what is our voice? What is our vision? What do we want to offer? And we're barely scratching the surface for us, and trying to partake in what is current. Like, we can't fight it. You can't fight social media. That is how people connect.
Yep.
And so we want to connect, but we also want to be a safe space. So it's a really interesting place to be, because I find myself, and I don't want to compare, but it's like, how do we stay in the mix? How do we get people to want to come to the studio? And there is a great base, but on top of that, we also our age restriction of 16 and up. It affects that as well. So not only are we not connecting to the 16 and under, because we don't have 16 and under at our studio, we're not doing the things that 16 and under love on social media. So
and they're all, it's amazing to me when I see the success, like a Sean and Casey, of what they've done in terms of Instagram and everything else. And there's plenty of others.
Sorry, who is that?
Sean and Casey. Oh my gosh.
That's how like that's how much I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
If that makes any sense.
But they were on World of Dance.
Okay.
But they've before they even reached World of Dance.
Yeah.
And Sean is 16, and he's honestly he is creating a lot of his work. Casey's kind of now starting to incorporate her own choreography into what they're doing. But and I believe she's 15. I mean, they are really incredible, but they're killing it on social media. But there is that debate too of like what's authentic on social media, and I think that they're doing it very well. But I think others feel like some other artists are just like, I'm gonna take the 15 grand that someone's giving me for a brand and doing a random
What's
dance
wrong
video.
with that?
I don't know, because in some ways I'm like, take the money because it is fleeting.
Well, okay. So people now get paid to be an influencer. You know, I think the word influencer is kind of where I think the bars get a little wavy, because you're using a word that means something for people who maybe don't even know what their voice is. You know, who are they? What do they have to say? Maybe they're just extremely talented, crazy, outrageous, fly in the air type movement, you know, and they're incredible vessels of just energy, you know what I mean? But I think the word influencer is like, well, what are you influencing? Are you saying something? Or are you just in it to become famous? And there's nothing, people say there's something wrong with that because it seems very superficial.
Right.
So it's the superficial, and then trying to have some deep meaning, and it's all put in the.
It is, and then we wind up back to the commercial versus concert dance, because oftentimes commercial is seen as selling out, and concert is like so artistic and deep. But again, those two can live very well together.
Yeah, I went to CalArts, and so I come from the modern dance world. Like that was my first education outside of like family dances, you know, with my family, and we just parties and stuff like that. But my actual education started in modern and ballet and jazz.
We have an amazing picture that I stole right off of your Instagram page.
Oh, no.
You know which one I'm talking about.
No.
I think I titled it like high school or something, because it's so cute. Come on, Teresa, this is adorable.
When everybody started posting their old headshots, I was like, I gotta.
But it's amazing. But it really, that is a classic, like a modern dance body shot at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sign of the times. Like now you'd be like, I got to do a full like 180 tilt or whatever. It's just. But you guys, this was exactly the style at the time, and styles change so often. But
influenced by Graham.
But classically trained. Martha Graham's amazing.
Yeah, I come from that world, and so even going through CalArts, I was always going to the clubs, and I would go to the Roxbury my senior year in college. I'd go to the Roxbury every Tuesday. That was the place to be, and so I started diving into the commercial world of LA, because that's where everybody went, and so I had my college life going on, and then my venture into Hollywood life, and I could see how there's always like this pointing the finger at the other spectrum. You know, it's like, where's the acceptance? There's good in all of it. And sure, there's stuff, but it's like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see the best of things, or do you want to look at it and at the worst of things? You know, and it's how your perspective and how you live your life, and I don't know. I mean, it gets really deep for me, because dance is such a personal thing, and so if you're looking to blame someone and go, they're the reason why this is what's wrong with the world. You know, I know recently there's been a lot of talk about Matt Stefanina and the kid dancing to Kanye's song, and that was like a huge debate.
being inappropriate for the age and everything else.
Yeah, and like my personal take on that is that Matt is an easy target.
Right.
I mean, that's just. I mean, we can point the finger all the time, but everyone's doing it.
He's not the only one, and
he's not the only one.
He's the one in
but
public.
He's the one today, and everybody's jumping on him. And maybe he knows better. Maybe he honestly, who knows? Nobody knows.
Was the parent okay with it? That would be another thing I would ask.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my mom would probably be like, at the time, if I was younger, probably be like, I'm not comfortable with that. But then it has to be a dialogue too, because the kid's being taped and everything else.
Yeah.
So we need to know. I think that there's more sides to the story.
Oh yeah. It's easy to be on the outside and go, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Everyone does that on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you really have a problem with Matt, write him an email or a DM and take it up, you know.
Ask him.
Yeah, ask him.
Talk to him before you start going, this is wrong. I mean, obviously Kanye doesn't have a problem with it. I'm sure he plays his music in front of his kids.
Right.
So why would he care of posting kids on his social media?
Right.
Because he made that music.
And as long as everyone, like the parents were okay, the choreographer was okay,
Yeah.
the kid was okay. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's legally really about all that matters.
Yeah, and the kids probably already listened to this song.
Probably. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, they know so much more than we give them credit for, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're learning it at school. They've got their own iPhones and everything else.
And if the parents did have a problem with it, they should have said something, and Matt would have never posted it, and then Kanye wouldn't have posted it because he wouldn't have known about it.
Yeah.
But everybody sees an opportunity. Maybe it was planned. I don't know.
We don't know. We don't have that full story, and I think that's the one thing that
Yeah.
it's like everyone's just so quick to jump these
Yes.
days. It doesn't matter the topic, honestly, either. It's like entertainment, politics, parenting. People, I know they parent shamers all the
my
time, and I'm
God.
like, are you walking in their shoes? Find out the backstory first, and then maybe make a more educated decision and judgment call on that.
Yeah. And this is coming from somebody who I try to be so integritous with my word and what I do and how I am as a person with everything, and sometimes people make mistakes.
Right.
Nobody's perfect.
And I think and honestly, and this is really, really my thought on this, like my job is to get up every day and try and do my best. I shouldn't, unless it's affecting my life personally, I'm not sure I should be worrying about you. I mean, I want to make sure you're okay and everything, but I don't need to worry about like the decisions you're making in your career. If like, you're like, I'm going to use a Kanye song that's a little, maybe some people will deem it inappropriate.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes throughout my career, but they weren't posted on social media. So
Right. What do you think is your biggest mistake you made in your career?
Oh, I can't.
You can't.
I can't. It was pretty bad.
Was it like in the middle of a job or something, or? Yeah. It was a doozy, huh?
It was. On a personal, I have nothing to hide, but at the same time, like, I would be talking about other people, and I don't know if they want the
story out there. Yeah.
Talking about their business. But I will say this, time does heal and people move on and people change. I changed, and that those things that I did in my past made me who I am today.
Did it get you fired?
No, I mean, it was over. The job was over.
So, yeah.
But,
It does. Yeah, you don't want to leave on a note like that or something like
well,
that.
I kind of did. And
Yeah.
it was like, it was this bittersweet, like sour ending to this great momentous thing. But, I mean, I was young and
when I know this, when I was younger, like I would speak before I would think sometimes. And then you're like, maybe that wasn't what I was supposed to say.
Yeah. I mean, and, back then, like social media didn't exist. So, my stuff was in private. And I'm sure there's a ton of other people from my generation on who made a ton of mistakes too. And nobody
We'll never know about
will
it.
never know. Nobody will never know. But now it's like people are putting themselves out there, on social media, and it's like some choices are good and some choices are questionable.
And it's there for all the world to judge, good or
Exactly.
bad. So that's the other thing that's a
Exactly.
challenge. I always like to ask this because we have a lot of dancers and they get to the point of like 16, 17, and you start having to make a decision. Do you go to college? I went to NYU for dance. So it's something that I loved, but I don't think it's the right path for everyone.
Yeah.
Why was it the right path for you?
I was gonna stay in Dallas, and probably just go to like community college, which is fine. And I didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do. I just knew I loved dance, and I'd gone to performing arts high school for dance. And a friend of mine at the time, she knew I'd gotten a scholarship to go to Cal Arts, and she goes, "You run, go to California, get away from here, go do that." Because I was scared. Everything that I knew, my whole family, all of my friends, my life, you know, and it's scary to think, oh, I'd be leaving all of that for what? You know, college. You know, it's like
I didn't even look at colleges in Massachusetts. I wanted to leave the state.
Oh, you were ready to
I was
go.
the opposite. I was like, bye, Mom.
Yeah.
They knew. My mom was like, you were ready to move out of the house the day you were born. She's like, you were
wow.
so independent.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's really cool.
I know. My poor mom, and I have the greatest
Oh,
mother
I know,
too. She's
I know.
amazing.
That's
so,
amazing.
but I just was always like, I gotta get out there in this world.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was everything. I was comfortable. You know,
Yeah.
I was dancing, and so I was living and having a great time. And my friends weren't the best at the time. Like, some people were going to jail, and like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So she was like, you should think
there.
about going and leaving all of this. And I was like, okay. And she actually convinced me. And the next morning, I told my mom, I was like, I'm gonna accept it, because at first I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't
And
know.
a scholarship to school it's
Yeah.
a big deal. School is so
Yeah.
expensive. Honestly, it's the only way I got to NYU is because of a scholarship.
And
so,
loans.
Yeah.
Lots of loans.
Yep.
Even my parents had to take out loans, and I had to take out loans.
It's
Plus
not
the
cheap.
scholarship.
It's, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Was it a conservatory program, or was it a little bit different than that?
Well, Cal Arts has, they have film, they have theater, music, animation, because it was started by Walt Disney.
Yep.
And then the dance department. And yeah, and so it was all of these mix of worlds and everything. And dance, I learned Horton and Graham and, I mean, everything in between, ballet, all of it.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, if you're getting a foundation like Horton Technique and Graham, you're getting a solid dance foundation. What was your first big job outside of Cal Arts?
Oh,
What was the job that you're like, holy cow, maybe this is going to be something big?
okay. So, well, I'll say my first music video, professional music video, was Come and Ride the Train. Come and
Ride the train and ride it.
Yeah, so I had to go do a little casting, and myself and my roommate booked it, and we're in the video. So that was my first music video.
I have more things to go and fall down the rabbit hole. Honestly, Teresa, you've got I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I was watching. You guys, okay, wait. I'm just going to say this because it's so good. I realized I was looking and, you worked with Britney during the Onyx tour during that era. And I was like, that was the K-Fed, Kevin Federline era. And I mean, there was a lot going on with Britney. We love her. I'm so happy she's on the path that she is. But there was a show on, I think it was the CW. I don't know if it was the WB at the time because the networks were all different, but called Chaotic. And you're in a couple of the episodes.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, look at you.
Yeah. I'm the one that introduced Brittany to Kevin.
Teresa.
At this club called Joseph's.
on right near Coinga, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was the spot every Monday night.
Yes, that was a big spot
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah, and she had invited me to her brother's birthday party that night, and the party was over, and I was like, hey, well, my friend and I were going to Joseph's if you want to come. And she hopped in my car. The paparazzi chased us like crazy. It was so crazy.
So you were there, like, I mean, that was like the height of like, that's really scary, some of the paparazzi stuff, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to trap us. It was bananas, and
it was the height of TMZ, the TMZ craziness too.
Yeah, and so we went to Joseph's, and Kevin happened to be there. And
Had you worked with him before, or?
he actually, we lived in the same duplex or quadruplex. So he lived downstairs. So we lived in the same building together.
Right.
At the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, she's she seems a little lonely. Like she could use, just somebody to
Cheer her up.
Yeah.
A little bit of company.
And just compliment her or something. I don't know, you know. And from that night on, they were together.
Yeah.
I mean, they were inseparable after that.
I've always like looked back on the Britney thing, and it just seemed like such an isolating world that she lived in. And you were probably in that bubble a little bit. And I just think there was no winning, even though like to the outside, all of us are like, she's winning. She's on tour and has everything. But do you know who your friends are at times like that?
Yeah, it was interesting because there was a period where we were kind of actually hanging out a little bit while we were off tour. And I just got the sense she wanted to feel normal. She wanted to be normal. And there was one particular day, and I took her to the restaurant I usually go to like 3 times a week down the street from my house. A couple of friends joined us. I went and picked up dry cleaning. And then I'm driving her back to wherever she was staying and playing music. It was like a picturesque moment. I'll never forget this. We're driving over Laurel Canyon, and I was playing Van Hunt, I don't know, from that time, R&B singer. And we're listening to it, the air is coming through the car, and it was just really peaceful. And she goes, "Thank you for today. This has been the best day I've had in a really long time." And I'll never forget that moment because it was just such an honest, I felt it. You know? It wasn't, she was telling me and I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know, it's like, I felt that moment too. Like it was just super peaceful. And I think, you know, it's crazy at her level. And I'm sure a lot of celebrities get this. It's like people, because they see you on TV, they think they know you. And then they think they have the right to say whatever they want to your face. Good or bad,
Right.
you know, and it's because they want to, in a weird way, they want to connect and go, I know this person for some reason, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you know, it is. People get really excited about anyone that they watch or admire or anything else. Anything has money, power, fame. It's a weird sort of thing that attracts people, and it does. It attracts the right people and it attracts the wrong people too. And you know, there was so much swirling around her at the time, but to see her now and just to see what she's accomplished, and she's now going to be the highest paid entertainer on the Strip because Celine is retiring and she's got a new show at the Park MGM coming up in 2019. Like, go Britney.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, she's the sweetest, honestly. She's got a great heart, a big heart, and I just wish her the best, you know.
Yeah, I always feel like that if there's one thing about Britney, she's just that girl from Louisiana. Like, you know, she never really changed in that she was like, oh, I'm going to be a big star. And
no, not at all. And I think she's actually doing what she loves most.
Yep.
She's doing it.
Yep.
But she's still a person.
And doing it on her terms. I think that's what it is. You know, she's got her boys. She's got this great boyfriend who I think who's really into fitness. I think he's a fitness trainer. So her body looks amazing.
Amazing. I'm like, girl,
do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
We love it. So you know, that really is. I mean, it's like such a crazy pop culture moment in time.
It was.
And I don't, you know, for people who weren't like really old enough maybe to even capture that, but like TMZ was like the start of it. Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, Britney, and the paparazzi was crazy before we all had smartphones, and smartphones really did change that game in some ways for the better, because I think it stopped a lot of that paparazzi chasing. So
I think, and then too, I think even somebody for like Perez Hilton, I think he was kind of shaming people.
Oh yeah,
back then
he's changed. He's a dad now.
Yeah, and I think that like he got a lot of backlash for that, and so he had to change his tune a little bit and start playing nice.
Be a nicer person. Just be a good human being, people. That is the rule. That's what I think. When did the Janet, because you worked the Velvet Rope tour, and I was literally thinking, what is it like? Because I'm sure you did some Rhythm Nation in there. I mean, getting to know, learn Rhythm Nation. I'm literally like, I almost wore my Janet shirt, but I wore it last week, and I'm like, people are going to be like, she owns one shirt.
Yeah.
What is it like working with Janet? Because to me, the Jacksons are so mythic to me in so many ways, but everyone I know who's worked with them have always said that they're so lovely.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many things that are connected to working with someone like Janet. I mean, she was the dream that I didn't know I had, you know? So on the Janet tour, the previous tour, I actually got front row center tickets in Dallas, Texas. My good friend of mine, Keely, she was a fan of Michael and Janet, and she knew that somebody from her camp would give out tickets to the front row. And I had lawn seats. And she was like, hey, Renee, he's got tickets. We got to go over there right now. He's giving them away. And I'm like, okay. So we go over there, and I said, oh, do you have, tickets? And he's like, well, are you a fan? And I was like, yeah. He's like, are you going to scream? I'm like, yeah. I'm like so excited, dressed like Janet at the time. And he saw that I was, excited to be
super fan.
Super. And he gave me literally his last 3 tickets, front and center. There was a moment in the show where she wipes her sweat with a rag and she throws it into the audience, and I caught it.
Did you save it all those years?
No, I gave it away.
You gave it away. I would have been like, Janet, this is your sweat from the Janet tour.
Yeah. Well, I had to fight this big dude that was behind me. I caught it, and he kind of caught the back of it. So I'm literally like struggling to like hold on.
You're like, mine.
Yeah. But anyway, I got the rag or whatever, and then I just remember thinking, like, I'm watching them dance up there. I'm like, I could do that. And that was it. I was just like, oh yeah, I could do that. There was
That's kind of amazing.
I was like,
no big
I'm
deal.
like, yeah,
I can dance with Janet.
yeah. And then the next tour,
You were on tour with Janet.
and I danced in the same amphitheater.
Oh my God. Did you bawl your eyes out? I would cry. I'd ugly cry because I'd be so happy
I mean, there were so many ugly cries
on that tour.
Oh my God, because it was the first of a lot of things for me.
Emmy nomination.
Oh,
Oh. Emmy nomination, you guys. This is an Emmy nominated choreographer, 1999.
Yeah.
I actually had to go. I went and looked on the Emmy site because I was like, who beat them? 'Cause I'm like, it's amazing. Do you know?
No.
Did you go to the ceremony?
well, we went to the
Creative Arts, yeah.
Yeah.
So the winners, there were 2 winners that year. Marguerite Derricks for the Goodwill Games, which I don't even think exist anymore, for the opening ceremonies, and Judith Jameson for Dance in America, Alvin Ailey.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
I mean, legends.
2
hello.
legends. I know you're not upset, but
No, not at all.
The nomination
If
is
it
such
had been
an
somebody
honor.
I didn't know, I'd be like, huh?
There was one person on the list that I was like, I'm not sure I know who that is. I didn't
Yeah.
dive down the rabbit hole
Sure.
and go and research it, but I was
Yeah.
like, there was one I was like, oh, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a fun experience.
Oh my God, it was incredible. Tina Landon is an amazing, choreographer and visionary, and she just really knew how to make things look simple, but I think that was really this beginning of making dance to music, and what I mean by that is the musicality of it, because before, I'm sure, I mean, everybody's on count. But it's like 5, 6, 7, 8, dun,
Right.
dun, dun,
Instead of like
dun.
moving through the music
And picking a sound, and you dance to that sound, or
not
that
easy.
lyric, or and I think she was the beginning of that, because she really, obviously she has a jazz background, but she was pulling, from the street influence, the hip hop influence, of freestyling and all of that she'd been around, her whole life. So. And then she brought in people like myself and Michael Andrews, rest in peace, Rob Vinson, and then she had Tice DiOrio and Gil and Shawnette. I mean, it's just, and the girls, it's just like, oh my God, just the perfect culmination of technical dancers with street background.
Yep.
And she fused that, and I think, and then on top of that, Janet was touchable. She was tangible. They were where everybody was really friends.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, there was a lot of drama backstage. Love-hate relationships everywhere.
It's a tour. I mean, like I was like, that
Yeah.
happens all the time, but
But that made for when we were on stage, like
passion,
we were in it.
drama. I love it.
We were in it.
What's the most surprising thing about Janet that we don't know?
Oh man.
I'm like, I love her so much. We can come back to it.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. She
Surprisingly normal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get weird with her, but she's normal.
She's normal.
She's normal. I'm the weird one.
I think I would lose myself too. Yeah, there's Janet. I think I honestly would totally lose it. She's the best, and I just love that she's here and back, and
oh my gosh,
a mom, which we all knew she wanted her whole life. So that just being able to go out there and do it. I love all of these women that are just like a total badass.
Yeah, she's definitely a badass.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, whatever she's doing right now, fire.
Total fire. It's it's interesting too, because I think as humans we go through different levels of like where you're like, I'm cruising through life a little bit, or I've hit a really good peak right now, or I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever she's up here right now, which is which is incredible. I love to see that. I love seeing women succeeding. I really do. I really do. I really want to talk about the whole Debbie Reynolds Legacy Studio, because that's how you and I originally met. I had gone in after Debbie had passed away. I don't even know who reached out to me. And I think it was during the original auction of Debbie Reynolds effects, and the studio was somehow sort of in the mix of all of that. And Margie, who ran the studio for decades.
Yeah, like 38 years.
Yes. Gave me a private tour of the studio. And she's like, let's just go in the back closet. And she was pulling out costumes from Singing in the Rain. I mean, I literally was trying not to bawl. And she's like, here, this is Carrie Fisher's wedding gown. And I mean, you've seen it all. And I wrote an article and I was just like, someone save the studio. And then you guys came in.
Yeah.
So tell us what made you want to step in and help rescue the studio, because it's such a big part of Los Angeles landscape.
Yeah. Well, so that came about because I called my boyfriend. I was like, hey, what do you think about getting a creative space, maybe with a dance studio? Like I could start something like that. And he said, well, what about Debbie Reynolds? I was like, well, it's not for sale or anything. And he goes, well, just go check on LoopNet, which is a site for real estate, commercial real estate, and see what's out there. I said, okay. So that night I go home, get on the internet, and I type in North Hollywood, I think 10-mile radius, for sale. I don't know why I picked for sale and not for lease, but I said for sale. And there's all these little red dots all over the screen. And the first dot I pick, the first one, not literally the first dot I pick, and it was Debbie Reynolds, and it was for sale for $6.1 million. Yeah, and it had only been listed for 3 days. Wow! So I found it super early on, and immediately, because of how quickly that came into in front of me, I knew there was a bigger reason. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that I had to do something.
Right.
And I was like, well, who do I know who has $6 million?
Yeah, it is. And it was kind of the LA Times had done an article too, I remember, and they're like, it's up for sale. And I was like, oh gosh, it's frustrating in this town, because I always say to people, I'm like, I'm from New England. People live in homes from the 1600s and we keep them. Here we just bulldoze everything. So in your search, you weren't able to. You almost had someone, didn't you?
Well, so the next day, I reached out to Maris and Austin because I was like, well, they're the only two people I know that are closest to me.
And those are your business partners.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, my business partner. Yeah,
yes. And Maris, you guys know from Beat Freaks.
Yes,
you guys did
we're
together.
in the Beat Freaks together. Yeah. And I reached out to them, going, hey, how do I get $6 million? And they're like, for what? And I didn't want to tell them over the phone. So I was like, well, are y'all home? And I went out straight to their house and I told them everything. And they played a joke on me and they were like, yeah, we bought it. I was like, oh, shit. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay.
No one's beeping you.
Okay. And they were like, no, but they'd always talked about it. They had been talking about it for years, that they were interested in buying Debbie Reynolds. And so, our worlds kind of collided together and we decided we were going to do something about it collectively, the three of us. And we were looking for investors and just doing whatever we can, at the time.
Yeah, you guys did like a GoFundMe campaign.
Well, that was after so we were we were ready to protest, like get everybody riled up. And I happened to check my emails that night, and there's an email from the new landlord or something saying, so Todd had ended up selling it. And
we're talking about Todd Fisher.
Yes,
This is,
sorry.
No,
Yes.
so everyone
Todd
knows.
Fisher, yes, Debbie Reynolds' son, Todd Fisher.
Yep.
He had sold it, but without us knowing, he had convinced the new landlord to let us run it as the business and lease it to us. So Todd Fisher let us take over the business, and then but the building was under new ownership, and so we've been on a year lease. And now,
All right, here's the fast forward, and this is where we want everyone to really listen carefully because this is super important.
Yes.
So, what is happening right now?
Okay,
I know, deep breath.
yeah. So we signed a year lease, and now we've gotten notice that the lease is being terminated, early November, and so. I did speak to the landlord, and he said that he'd give us an option to stay, but at the cost of an outrageous amount of rent.
It's like triple what you're paying, isn't it?
Triple.
Okay.
So
just think about this, you guys. Whatever you pay for rent a month or your mortgage a month, imagine someone steps up to you and says, in a couple months, you have to triple that payment. So what does that mean for the studio?
Okay.
Because what does that mean? Because triple that is an extraordinary amount here in Los Angeles. We're not in a small town here. This is expensive.
Right. Well, to be honest, like I don't know how to make that money right this second myself with the business as is, but I do know that I have enough wherewithal to come up with a plan to generate that kind of income down the line, but I would need time to get there. And so either I come up with a counter offer that he accepts, and it's still kind of pushing our limit of what we can afford, but it's something I think we could do. Or he says no, he holds on to this triple rent, and someone in the universe
Can come in and help.
Can come help and supplement the extra rent until we can actually sustain that ourselves.
Yeah, so whether it's an angel investor or someone who's also interested in continuing the legacy. And I think for people that live outside of LA, just so you guys know, Thriller was rehearsed here. I mean, the studio is, I mean, I stood in that studio and I'm like, this is magic because, I mean, what else has been rehearsed there? Because so many incredible things.
Yeah, there's been a ton of auditions for, I mean, you know, Cher was there, Madonna has been through the studio, Bette Midler, Julie Andrews, The Temptations actually still rehearse there.
They do?
Yeah, we named a studio after them.
And the new studios when you did the renovations. I know that Margie told me a great story that Madonna was rehearsing at the studios and she was, I think she and Sean Penn were like on the verge of divorce and he kept like sending flowers and everything to him. And she kept on, Madonna would be like, I don't want them. And so like every day Margie would go home with like a huge bouquet of flowers.
That's amazing.
I mean, but that all happened within the walls of your studios. And I think that it's one of those things that we can't replicate. It's, you know, you can move to maybe a different building perhaps, but it doesn't have the magic and the history.
Yeah, and not only that, yes, we could find another space, but when you walk in there, it is so spacious. It's 20,000 square feet. That does not, for a dance studio, that doesn't exist. And I walk in D and there's just, there's history and like sweat and tears of legends in the floor and in the walls, right? But then you sit there and it's just so expansive and the energy is so loving and creative and freeing and open. It's like we could try and get that kind of same energy and intention into a new space, but it exists here, and it's next year it'll be 40 years that it's been in existence, and I know that it's possible. So I'm gonna get into some other stuff a little bit, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
So when the first round happened last year, I knew that there was a divine purpose for that. Like there was manifesting things
Yep.
energetically. So I'm talking about energy and manifesting dreams, right? So that was a dream that I didn't know I had. And the minute I saw the red dot and saw that Debbie Reynolds,
The aha moment happened.
it was like, that's what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to get there. That's what I'm doing. And so we're in round 2, and a lot of people are telling me, you can just take the floors and
move elsewhere.
go somewhere else, and we'll go with you. And I love the loyalty, and I love the support. For me, if I can do it and not have to come up with $6 million the first time, I'm literally focusing on manifesting saving the studio again.
Yeah, plan A is to stay
Yes.
in this place,
Yes.
in this space.
And speaking of plan A, my whole life has always been plan A. I've never had a plan B. Never. Even when there was years of me not working, there was still no plan B. I was just like, it's going to come.
How do you keep yourself going through those when you're in those low times of like, am I supposed to have a plan B? No, I got to focus on plan A.
Well, now it's a lot easier in a sense because I have my whole life to look back on and go, it's always worked out. It's always worked out.
What would you tell your younger self when you're in that?
What would I tell? Just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Which is what I did. I just kept showing up, and I'm showing up now. Like, I keep telling myself it. I've had some really rough moments over the last couple of weeks when we got the notice, where I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then I remember it's bigger than me.
And if you don't fight for this, you're always going to have the what ifs.
Well, it's not even that. It's I've actually manifested everything I've ever wanted. And this is no different. It just seems larger and more like difficult. All I need to do is just focus in the direction of plan A, which is really what I want, and which is what everybody else that teaches there and goes there and works there, everybody wants it to stay.
Yep.
So let's just focus on staying. Let's just put our energy into this because plan B, it's attractive.
It's attractive, but
It is
and
attractive.
and maybe it's easier, but you don't want to.
It's a lot easier.
I know you're not an easy person at all. No, you take the challenge, and I mean
Yes.
that in a highly complimentary way.
I totally take it
Yeah.
as such because
I saw that fight on that panel. I knew it. I'm telling you, we're circling back to that first story, but I see
Yeah.
it and I appreciate it because I'm
Yeah.
pretty scrappy myself. So I'm like, oh, girl's got some fight. I like it.
yeah, because if I give up and I'm in the leadership position, for sure we're done. For sure it's over. Game over.
Yeah.
So I know that Debbie's with us. I know she's with me, and she's helping me out in ways that I don't even see, and everybody else doesn't see yet. That's life is magical in that way, and I already know that.
And she had a roller coaster story too, and always came out ahead.
Yeah.
You know, always just fought to the end.
Yeah, I mean, she was a leader and a visionary, and she was always putting herself out there.
And created a professional space for dancers in this community to rehearse and practice their craft and everything else. I mean, these are, at the time, I believe they were the only really professional studios that existed.
Yeah, and then kind of circling back to from what we were talking about in the beginning about, the specialness of it is, part of it is we have to do the social media thing, right?
Right.
To get us out there, but the specialness is that it's safe. The specialness is that, you can actually go there and learn without the pressure of being your imperfections being displayed, and so it's this double-edged sword that we're on, our teachers really care. A lot of our teachers have experienced a dance life to share, and I don't know, it's just such a loving, warm creative space that just needs to stay. And not to mention, the actual studio has a life of its own, and it's breathing through us. And
I just hate to see so many of our buildings. And honestly, like on Sunset Boulevard, a developer just bought the block where the Viper Room is, and the Viper Room has a huge history. Yeah, exactly. You know exactly.
No
Yes. The
way.
Viper Room has a huge history, not only with music, but also with dance. Pussycat Dolls guys, when they were a burlesque group, that's where they were performing. And I just sit there and I think there's a great risk. The developer hasn't said exactly what he's doing, but you know, the chances of what's happening on Sunset Boulevard, because we're seeing it, they knock it down, they build a huge apartment building with retail space at the bottom. And again, another landmark. And we need to start looking back at history.
Yeah.
We need to be preserving these things. So I think what you're doing is so vitally important to Los Angeles and our culture and history.
Yeah, and I hope that whoever hears this, if it touches someone that, you know, they know someone that knows someone, like, we need the help.
Yeah, where should people reach out? Because in case someone hears this and say, you know what, I know someone who would be really interested in this. Should they reach out to the Debbie Reynolds Dance Studio website?
I actually have an email. It's contact@drlegacystudios with an S.com. And they can email us there, and we'll be checking to see if anybody's reaching out back to us to help out. So it's contact@drlegacystudios.com. And they can call the studio and ask for me, and I'll get back to you.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so we're in the middle of doing the possible.
The possible, exactly. And I have 2 articles that I wrote last year now about this. So I'm going to like put them back out there so you guys can read a little bit more about the history. One of them was my little walkthrough with Margie, which was amazing. And of course,
she's amazing.
She's amazing.
Just full of stories.
She's full of stories. Someone should do a documentary on her, honestly. And then when I went through with, you know, you and Maris and everything else. So I just want you guys, if you can share this podcast or the video, send it to people you know, because I think it's a really important one. And it's one of those things that I always like to say, we have to know who came before and honor that legacy. And we don't do it enough. And the dance community is so rich in history, especially here in Los Angeles too. Yeah. We can't forget that.
Yeah. I appreciate yeah.
Of course. You know, we have to get the word out and everything else. So fingers crossed, we're going to be like blasting this out to everyone, and keep us posted on what is happening, because I think it's really important, and we can, you know, you're always welcome to come back on the show, and
thank you.
We're just down the street
here
in North Hollywood.
Thank you.
And I just think it's one of those stories that I'm just hoping we know.
Well, we'll know really soon.
Really soon.
November is in a month.
I know. So we got to get on this.
Yeah. And I'm just going to stay focused and move forward in keeping the studio alive into 2030.
Forever. 2000 forever.
2000 forever.
We need to keep that Debbie Reynolds legacy going.
Thank you.
Teresa, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to contact you, we know we have the email address, but how about social media?
Oh, yeah. At Espinosa22. And
Twitter, Instagram, all that.
Yep. The Espinosa22.
Super easy. Yeah. I love that. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys, next week we're going to do a little bit more of dance history, because we have Patricia Ward Kelly, Gene Kelly's widow, coming in, and maybe talking a little Singing in the Rain. We're going to talk about topics. Because there's so much to talk about. We got to narrow it down. You need to come back and talk about Magic Mike. Right? We need a little Channing Tatum talk at one point. Come on. All right. Thank you so much to Popcorn Talk and Dance Network for sponsoring. And of course, remember all of your dance news at dancenetwork.tv. We'll see you next week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.